Hi everybody, welcome to Cloudy Nook Stitches. My name is Lori and I'm so glad you're here to spend a little time with me. My channel right now is a lot about cross stitch, and then I also share a little bit about knitting and crocheting. So at the end of this episode, I have a finished object, crochet project, and a work in progress for a knitting project. So first off, I'll be talking about cross stitch. Now, I want to explain to you why I haven't been on YouTube for a while. The last time I put a video out was the beginning of February, and I've been planning to do at least 2 a month, but I'm in the process of moving. I'm going to be moving from California to Arizona. So back in February, I filmed in Arizona. So right now I'm in my craft room here in California, and it took me 2 to 3 days to pack it up. So I don't have anything on the walls. I packed up my sewing machine, and so I feel like I'm living in disarray right now until we get finally settled in Arizona. So that's why I haven't been putting any videos out. So I'm so sorry if you were wondering, where am I? I'm still here. So anyway, another thing I wanted to mention to you is I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers. Last time I checked, I was at 980. So I'm hoping that within the next month or two, I could get to that 1,000 to reach my next goal on YouTube. And once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm planning on doing a giveaway. So if you enjoy my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for being patient with me. And since I haven't been on for a couple months, and I really appreciate you coming back to check me out. So the first thing I would like to share with you is I have 2 finished objects. Now, when you see me looking down, I have all my notes written here. And my first finished object is called Little Penguin. And there he is. And I am planning on finishing him as a pillow. Now, I got this pattern designed by Stitch is Simo, S-I-M-O, and I got a PDF document on Etsy, and it's actually, the project is actually called Winter Warmth. Yeah, and I used the called for DMC floss for him. So let me get him really close. Isn't he cute? And let's see, the start date on this guy was January 21st. Oh, I cross-stitched it really quick, and I finished him on January 31st. So I can't wait to turn him into a pillow. My next finished object is called Let Love Bloom, and it is by Country Cottage Needleworks by Nikki Lehman. And this was a purchase pattern, and I used 14 count Ada in Mystic Gray, and I did the call for DMC floss for it. So there's that one. And my goal for this one is, I think I'm gonna do like a flat fold, and then I think I might be propping it up onto a little easel. I have this small little easel. Hold on, let me get it, okay? And then I could tell you about it. Okay, here's the easel that I have. I don't remember where I purchased it. So my plan is one of my FFOs that I finished a couple months ago. I just made it into a really simple, I don't know if it's called a flat fold. I'm still really new with cross stitch, so I'm still learning the terms on how to complete projects. So I think what I did is I just had a piece of cardboard and I just glued that on there, and then I put a ribbon cording trim. I glued that on, and then I attached the bow. So as you can see, it's really flat. So my thought is for changing it out for the seasons, I have my cute little easel, and then for the next season, my plan is to finish this one into a flat fold and then prop it up on my easel. And this is for February. And I'm not able to, I've been wanting to finish these off, but since I'm in the process of moving, most of my stuff is all packed away. So once I get settled in Arizona, I'm gonna probably have a lot of FFOs that I need to be working on. The next thing I like to share with you is telling you what projects that I will be putting or have already put into hibernation. So they're going to be put away and I won't touch it for a while. So the ones that I'm going to be putting into hibernation are my winter projects that I started in the winter. So the first one will be, and it is called Majestic Moose. So there he is. So I got a pretty good start on him. This was designed by Spell X Stitch. I'm working on 14 count Mystic Gray Ada, and I'm using the called for DMC floss. So this is one of my winter projects. And then my other winter project, hold on, let me find it, hold on. Okay, I just found my notes. So the other winter project is called the Quaint Quaker. It's called Winter. It was designed by Quaint Rose Needle Arts, and I got the PDF file on Etsy. I'm using 14 count Fiber on a Whim Moonstone, and I'm using the DMC called for floss. So there it is right there. This one's been really fun. It's I really been enjoying working where it's mainly gonna be black with a little bit of hint of color here and there. So right here you could see the igloo, and on this one there'll be penguins. So these are the two projects that will be going into hibernation until next winter. All right, now let's talk about new starts. So since the last time I saw you, I started 4 new starts, and since I haven't been on YouTube and I wasn't able to share the new starts when I first started them, a lot of them I have a fair amount of process done on them. So let me get that first one for you. So the first new start that I like to share with you, since I put my winter projects into hibernation, I did find a spring project that I'll be working for spring, and this is called the spring sampler. I cannot pronounce the designer's name, so I'll put her name right here for you. And I'm using a 14 count Zycart fabric. So here's my start on it. So the first thing I started off is I started in the left top corner and then I worked on the border. What I like to do is, I know some people will put the whole border on. I get kind of bored working on the border, so I kind of change it up a bit. So I did start on the border, and then I worked on this one floral right here, and then I'll be starting on that house. So that's how far I've gotten on this project, and I'm using the called for DMC, and I really like the color of the fabric and how it's playing with the colors of the floss. I think it's gonna look really nice once it's completed. Now this next new start is a birthday start. My birthday was on March 30th, and in the Flosstube community, I've learned people do a birthday start. So I went ahead and I picked out this pattern a while ago, and I was holding on to it until my birthday. The project is called Pelican, and it is designed by Light Unicorn Designs, and I got a PDF file on Etsy. I'm using 14 count Aida with the called for DMC. So I got a very good start on it. I know you really don't know what's going on right here, but right here is like his belly. And I just love working on these kind of patterns where you're, what do they call it? Where you do a lot of counting. And so what I usually do is I take one color and then I focus on one area, and this was a center start, and then I just do the counting from here, over here, down here, and back around until I fill out this color. And I notice when I work on these type of projects, I have to do like the double check to make sure I'm getting those in the right location. And then when I come in with the second color, then I reference that first color with the second color that I'm putting on to make sure they're being placed correctly. And then I have noticed these kind of patterns, if you get the general shape of it and maybe you might miss a couple colors or switch out a little bit, that's why I like to work in this like one general area, and then I'll go in and I'll fill this all in before I branch out for the rest of the pattern. So so there's a lot of thinking. This project is definitely a lot of thinking. For this next new start, I found a stitch along. It started up in January, and by the time I found it, it was like when did I find it? Oh, I started it on February 23rd. So I had a little bit of catching up, and I'm not quite caught up, but that's okay. And this one is called The Great Outdoors, and it is by stitchingcabin.com. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Flosstube channel, Annette's Needles, because she is the one that's also working on this project. And when I saw her project, I was just really inspired to start it too. And I think one of the reasons is, well, there's a couple. I like to camp, and I noticed there were clouds on the patterns, so I was real excited when I saw the cloud. So let me show you my start, and I got a good start on it. So January was this top band right here with the mountains, and then February was the tents and the bears, and right now I'm working on March. And let's see, you have like little compasses, and these are going to be boots. And I'm using 14 count yellow diamond Ada and the called for DMC floss for this project. So once I saw it, man, I think I got the pattern on, I ordered the pattern on the website, stitchingcabin.com. And then at that point, I put an order in for the floss and the fabric at 123 Stitch website. So even though I was so excited to start it right away, I had to wait till I got the pattern and all the fabric and floss. And the day I received that, I was stitching it that day. And I stitch on it on a pretty regular basis because I'm really trying to kind of keep up with it. But at this point, I think I'm gonna always be a month behind, and that's okay. So yeah, so I got another stitch along to work on. And then the last new start that I started up is Keeper of the Pens. And this is a stitch along that is going on, and they have a hashtag Keeper Sal. And so far I've finished the sewing bird little pillow right here, and right now I'm working on needles and thread pattern right here. So let me show that to you. And I'm working them all on one piece of fabric. So tucked in right here is the sewing bird. And this is 28 count linen by Zycard. Color is light mocha mushroom. So this is actually the second time I'm working on a project on linen with 28 count. So I'm not venturing up to the 32, 36 or higher right away. I'm still trying to get a hang of working on linen, and working on the smaller projects for the first time is working out really good for me. So those are my 4 new starts. And one of my goals at the beginning of 2025 that I shared with you is I was going to do 25 in 2025 new starts. So let me give you an update how I'm doing on that. In January, I had a lot of new starts in January. I had 8. February was 4. And in March was 3. So far in 2025, I have 15 new starts. So I think I'm gonna reach this goal. I have other patterns sitting aside that I would like to work on in the future. So okay, so that's all about my new starts. Next up, let's talk about my Whipco board. Now, since I haven't been on here for a couple months, let me just kind of give you a heads up of what I did back in February. So my February goals were met, and the February numbers were number 9 and 24. So first let me show you my WIPCO board. So my February goals and my March goals have all been colored out dark. So I did finish my goals for those 2 months. And then April, the numbers were number 4 and number 10. And when the numbers get called, what I do is I just color it in lightly. And then when I finish those goals, I'll darken it up after that. Now, I have mentioned in a previous video, when I get a bingo going either across horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, I will do a giveaway. So once I meet this goal, and when this number right here, number 2, gets called, and I finish that goal and I color out all the way across, I will do a giveaway. So so keep an eye out for that. So from now on, when I talk about WIPCO, I'll bring out my board to show it to you. So let me talk about the projects that I worked on back in February that was for WIPCO. And the first one is a pattern by Jeanette Douglas, Matter in Hand. So let me show that to you. And I found out that the Flosstube channel, Highway Stitcher, was doing a stitch along for this, and the hashtags for the stitch along is OCT2OCT, that's OCT2OCT, and then also the other hashtag is called hashtag Matter in Hand, SAL for Sal. So I am using 16 count Ada Vintage by Be Stitch Me, and I have I'm subscribed to their monthly club. So here's how far I've gotten so far on it, and I'm really enjoying this project. And I'm getting a little more comfortable stitching on the 16 count. And this fabric, oh my gosh, by Be Stitch Me, if you haven't tried their fabric, I highly recommend you to give it a try. So that is the first one for the February WIPCO. So let me show you the next one. The other project that I worked on for WIPCO was the project called House Season of the Year, and it is by White Rose Snow Garden, and I purchased a PDF on Etsy, and I'm using 16 count Ada in milk chocolate. And I'm using the called for DMC floss. So this is what I was working on, was the month of March right there. And so my goal for this one was, when it gets called on WIPCO, my goal is to finish a complete square. So I finished March. So it was a really easy goal to reach, because you have a whole month to get it done. So I got 2 more other projects that I'm working on for WIPCO. So hang on and I'll grab those next. The next project that I worked on for WIPCO, and the goal was to work on it for eight days in that month. It is called the Vintage Sewing Room. It is designed by All About X Stitch, and I got the pattern, a PDF pattern on Etsy, and I'm using a 14 count Aida from my stash. So the area that I really concentrated on for those 8 days is doing up this quilt right there. This is, I think this was my first cross stitch project that I started on when I decided to do Flosstube. So I'm excited to get it done eventually. I think I used markup RXP, and I think I'm just over 25% done on this project. And then the last WIPCO project that I've been working on, this one I've named it the Cloudy Nook Stitches Sampler. And what I did is I found a couple patterns. The first pattern I found was for the cloud, and it was by Pepe Clear Skies. Minnie Lynn Creates, and I got that on Etsy. And then the alphabet, I purchased the pattern by Print and Decor on Etsy. And then all the little samplers that you'll see on here, I purchased the pattern Vintage Cross Stitch by the pattern Granny. And then I just took all those patterns that I bought and I just kind of designed it up in a sampler on my own. And then for the border, I just went over to Pinterest to get different ideas of how to do a border. So here's what I'm working on. And I came up with this idea because I enjoy doing a lot of different crafts. Like I do crochet, and then I have knitting and cross stitch, and then all the cute little notions. I do quilting. So when I found the pattern with all those samplers on there, I'm like, oh, I have an idea. And so I changed up the colors. Well, wait a minute. I think I used some of the colors in the pattern, but then I used some other colors too for the DMC. And then up on top right here, now that is the date when I changed my YouTube channel to Flosstube, which was November 13, 2024 is when I decided to change the format on my YouTube channel, because my YouTube channel 2 years prior to that, it was called Cloudy Nook Crochet, and it was only about crocheting. And then if I mentioned this in an earlier episode, I injured my left wrist, so I wasn't able to crochet, and then I was knitting. Couldn't do that anymore until my wrist healed. So then that's what I started doing cross stitch, because it was my left wrist that was injured, and I mainly, I'm right-handed, so I did all the stitching using my right hand. So that really gave the time for my wrist to heal, which took months, and I was wearing a brace, And so now it feels really good. So that's why I decided to make up a sampler to represent my channel. And so from Cloudy Nook Crochet to Cloudy Nook Stitches works perfect. You got knitting stitches, crochet stitches, and of course cross stitches. So this one, I really want to get this one done. So I'm really hoping, and I think the whip code numbers for this one was called in April. Yeah, let me look. Oh, it was called in April, and then it was also called in a previous month too. So on my whip code board, for an example, for this project, I have it on my whip code board twice. So so this is the second time it's been called. So we'll see if I get it done, but I really like this one. Now I like to share with you my temp stitching, and my temp stitching is every morning when I get up in the morning, I ask Alexa what the weather is, and I think today it was like 56, and so I take that last digit and I have 10 projects labeled 0 to 9. So depending on what the last digit of the weather is, and I'm using just the current temperature, you could set up your temperature stitching all different ways. So whatever works for you, you could pick the low of the day, the high of the day. You could pick the weather at where one of your kids live, just however works best for you. So one thing I really enjoy about doing my temp stitching is right now, how many projects do I don't know how many the total whips I have, but I had a fair amount of whips that I wasn't working on, so I picked those 10 to do temp stitching. So now I'm able to touch all these projects on a pretty regular basis. So I don't set it aside and I don't work on it for months. And then when I pick it up, I'm like, okay, where am I? And then I gotta refamiliarize myself with that project. So let me just go quickly through my temp stitching. The first one is called Camping. Actually, it's called Camping Forest, and it was designed by Stitch Vibes Emporium, and I found it on Etsy. I'm using 14 count Aida on Zycart. Silvery Moon is the color of the fabric, and I'm using all the DMC called for floss. So there is my camping. So this one was a center start. Where was that center start? I think it was like right up here. So then I kind of focused on doing the camper, the trailer, and then I kind of ventured around. Depends on, what do I want to work on today? So this one's been a fun project. And this one I worked on, it got called 3 different times since the last time I did a Flosstube channel. So let me get the next one. The next one got called 5 times, and it is the Folk Art Hummingbird designed by Sydney Lee Stitchery, and I'm using it on using 14 count Aida, a soft fabric and white, and I'm using the DMC called for colors. So here is how far I've gotten on it. So it's really coming together. I remember when I first started this one, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And then after I started it coming alive, I was like, okay, I can see it now. And then I got a cute little needle minder of a hummingbird right there. And then this one I'm making in memory of my mom. She loved hummingbirds. So her birthday's November 11th. So I work on it when it gets called in my temp stitching, and then I also work on it on the 11th of each month. On the next project it got called 9 times. And it's the great white shark. It was designed by Happy Little Mouse, and I got the pattern on Etsy. And I'm using 14 count Aida in black. First time using black fabric, so it's kind of challenging. So I'm glad I don't have to work on it on a 2 regular basis. And I'm using the DMC called for floss. So here's how far I've gotten on my shark. And I really like the detail in there. So there's a fair amount of colors. How many colors? 26 colors for this one. So yeah, I really like it. Can't wait for this one to get done. All right, now this project got called 4 times. It's the Desert Landscape by Light Unicorn Designs, and I got the pattern on Etsy as a PDF. I'm using 14 count Aida Wizardy Zycard. The color is Vintage Sand, and I'm using the call for DMC fabric. So this is cool. Right here's a tree that's going on. So again, this one's a center start, and I don't think I could, doing these on the markup app is, I don't know how I would do it without the app, because you just pick a color in the app and then it lights up where those colors are. I find it really helpful, especially when I'm working on such detail on the project. So yeah, I really like this fabric. It kind of has like a hand dye look to it. This next one was called 7 times, and it is the sheep and Christmas tree. It is designed by White Rose Snow Garden, and I got the PDF on Etsy. I'm using 14 count Aida from my stash, and the DMC called for colors. So that's how far I've gotten on this one. So I'm really glad, again, with the temp stitching, I also included in some Christmas projects. And I'm thinking of focusing on Christmas for Christmas in July. So I'm hoping some of my Christmas projects will be done and fully finished so I can enjoy seeing them out during the holidays. So those are the projects that I worked on for my temp stitching, and I think I really like doing the temp stitching. I get up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to work on today. So it is, I do enjoy it. Do you guys do any like temp stitching or different kinds of fun events to motivate you to work on your cross stitch projects? If you have any ideas for me of other things to look into, please let me know in the comments below. I would love, since I'm new to Flosstube, I'm still learning all the ins and outs to it. All right, so coming up next are the other whips that I worked on. So let me show those to you. Now this project, it's called Hearts of the Kingdom by Rosewood Manor, and it was designed by Karen, and I can't quite say her last name right there. I just fell in love with this one when I saw it, and my plan for this one, since it's got that heart theme for, my first thought was Valentine's Day. So my plan for this one is I work on it on the 14th of every month. So let me show you how far I've gotten. And this was a left top corner start. So I always put a little note. I put an LT for left top so I don't get confused where I am in the pattern. So that's how far I've gotten on it so far. Oh, and I just love doing these different little motifs. I feel such a big sense of accomplishment when I finish one of them. So I look forward to working on this every month. Now this next one, I work on the 25th of every month. Last Christmas, my son bought me a cross stitch kit, and he found it on Amazon. So let me show that to you. And when I opened this up, I was just so excited. As you could tell, I really like moose. So here's another moose I'm working on. So every month after I work on him, I'll send him an updated picture of how far I've gotten. So there he is. And this is a center start. And I'm really glad it started off with his face. So this last month I was working on his ear. And this is a 16 count Ada. And the kit came with everything, floss and the fabric. And then the last cross stitch project I worked on, it is called One Stitch at a Time by La Di Da. And this is the first time I'm doing one of her patterns. And I found out that this is a stitch along that's going on the Facebook group Across the Pond. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, I just love that. I love the saying. Beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. And I'm using 16 count wheat Ada and the called for DMC. And this is how far I've gotten on it so far. Oh, and doing those birds. Oh, I think this is the first time I've done birds. And they were really fun to stitch. Right now I'm working up on the house. So this is really pretty. I love the colors. So those are all the cross stitch projects I've worked on since the last time I put a video up. And then coming up, I'd like to share a crochet and a knitting project with you. Okay, now let's talk about crochet. It's been about 5 years now when I retired from my office job. I wanted to get involved in some way with the community, so I found Project Linus. And Project Linus is a nonprofit organization that donates handmade blankets to children that are in the hospital from newborns all the way up to teenagers. So I do sew, and I've made many quilts and donated them throughout those years. And then I also crochet. So the one that I'd like to share with you, the stitch in it is called the moss stitch, and you start in the center and you just keep going around and around and around into a square doing the moss stitch. The moss stitch, if you want more information about the pattern of it, let me know in the comments below and I'll respond to your comment of where I found the pattern. But basically it's just a single crochet chain stitch over and over again. So let me show you that afghan. Let me look at back a little ways. And the size of this one I made for an infant. And then when the child leaves the hospital, the blanket is given to the family. And I always get so touched because sometimes families will write back to Project Linus saying thank you for the beautiful handmade blankets. So that's my crochet project that I just completed. So let me show you those stitches a little closer up. And then I really enjoy doing scrappy projects because I have a lot of leftover yarn, and then I just turn them into scrap blankets. Now for knitting, I found a pattern on Ravelry, and it is called the Loomis Sweater. And the yarn that I'm using is Premier Cotton Fair, 52% cotton and 48% acrylic, a fine weight of 317 yards per skein. So that's the yarn that I use. And the color is cocoa. And I found I really enjoy knitting with circular needles, and I really enjoy doing top down in the round, because with top down in the round you don't do any purling. It's all knitting. And with the injury on my wrist, I've noticed the way I hold my hand and wrist when I'm purling, it puts a lot of strain right in that area that I injured. So I think at this point, I'm just gonna be looking for patterns that are top down in the round. Now this pattern was really fun. Check out that neckline. And then I have the sleeves on hold right now. So I finished the body of the sweater. And now all I have to do is go back and pick up my stitches in the sleeves, and then I'll be finished. So yeah, I really enjoy knitting. It's very relaxing to me. All right, guys, so that is the end of this episode. I really had a lot of fun sharing all the stitches that I've been working on. So from packing a house and traveling back and forth from California to Arizona, I do make a point to always do my stitching. It really helps me to relax, especially when you got so much going on. I just gotta sit there and just stitch. So anyway, thank you for hanging out with me, and I look forward to hanging out with you again in my next video. I'll try to get that next video up definitely within the next month. All right, guys, bye for now until we meet again.